Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us and welcome to this episode of Shagalinku TV. Thanks for joining us. And for those that will join us later on in the show, saying welcome, welcome, welcome. My name is Ambassador Emmanuel Gabari, and it's good to be here again for another episode of Shagalinku TV. We're streaming live from three destinations on Shagalinku TV Facebook page, on Shagalinku TV YouTube page, and also on my personal page, Ambassador Emmanuel Gabari. Today, we'll be looking at the role of youth in the democratic and electoral process now and come 2023. We all know how the NSAS issue happened. It brought like a unifying factor for all young people all across the street and even outside the country. The hashtag NSAS was trending for quite a while. And here we are close to elections, and we're asking, can young people also leverage on that synergy that they had during the NSAS protest and see how they can also push for visibility within that young people's space? How can we do all of that? Anyways, the lines are there. You can drop your comments in the comment section, but you'll need to give us approval when you finish typing for it to be published. So when you finish typing, you just click and approve, and it will pop up on the screen, and we'll read them as the program progresses. Joining me here will be my guests that here. I'll just introduce them as they come on. But for now, Benedicta is already here, so I'll just bring her in, and she will quickly just introduce herself. This is her second time here, so she's not a newcomer anymore. Hi, Benedicta.
Hi.
Welcome once again to the
Hi,
show. It's good to have you.
Emmanuel.
Good to
Thank you
have
so
you.
much. Thank you. It's so
Yeah.
good to be here.
So tell us a little more about yourself. I know some people who watched us before.
Um,
So go on.
you. Okay, can you hear me?
Go on. Yes.
Okay. My name is Benedicta Ngwemo Adio. I'm from Benue State. I'm a youth advocate, very passionate about youth involvement and decision making. I'm a program manager with Gary, Gender and Environmental Risk Reduction Initiative here in Benue State. We major mostly on gender issues and issues that have to do with the environment, climate change, the ecosystem. So we walk around in communities, addressing them on environmental issues, most of which has to do with climate change, uh, sensitize them on cutting of trees. It's not every tree you have to cut. And then amongst other things that we do. So that's just a brief about me.
Wow. Thank you so much, Benedicta. And once again, congratulations on your dad's new position as a special advisor to the Benue State Governor. Congrats.
Thank,
So we'll be calling you Her Excellency very soon.
thank you very much. Thank you very
tell us
much.
tell us quickly a little about that, and then we'll go on to introduce our next guest.
Okay. Well, my dad has always, as a little girl, I've always known him to be into politics. That's his thing. And being his child, I've also been able to learn a lot from him under his wing. I've also got to learn that it's very important for you to be in politics. You have to be you have to participate. You can't just sit at the back burner and expect to be brought forward when issues come up. No, you have to always constantly be at the forefront, speaking or in whatever involvement you can get yourself into the political process for you to be heard. So that when these positions come up, you are actually remembered and called upon. So his position is an appointed position. So if you are the backboner, you're not speaking. And when such positions open up, no one will call you forward because they don't know you. You get. So when they know you for a particular thing, they call you forward. His portfolio is on primary education. He's a special advisor to the Benue State Governor on primary education, which is actually his area of specialization. So it's very important to specialize in a particular area so that people know you on that thing, and when you are called upon, you can deliver. So that's just what it is.
Yeah, congrats once again. It's a congratulations. I mean, you are family here on Shagalinku, and I remember the last time you came, we were even talking about the girl child education, the
Yeah,
importance and of all of that. In fact, that was why we took it personal to happily congratulate you and your
thank
dad.
you. Thank you
Yeah,
so
okay.
much.
You're welcome. So we'll bring in our next guest, and let him also introduce himself. Lancet is here. So if you can unmute, Lancet, would like you to just introduce yourself a little, and we go on from there. Hi, AGK.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Please go on.
Okay. My name is Lancelot AGK. Basically, I'm a youth advocate. I'm ambassador for sexual and reproductive health, ambassador for countering traffic in person, and I work on skills for employment for young people, and basically I do a lot around youth improvement, how to achieve SDGs and stuffs like that. Whatever thing that has to do with young people is what I'm in for, basically. And I've worked on different projects, being part of those people that developed the SBBC for, you know, um, adolescent and young people's sexual rights in Abia State. And I've also been part of the people that carried Not Too Young to Run in Abia State. And currently, I just oversee a project sponsored by International Labour Organization, which is skills for employment for young people, which happen in different states. And I oversee the one that happened in Lagos. And I'm also championing, advocacy for people to, get their PVC. Basically, that's just who I am. I'm in for young people and development of the society. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So that brings us to our topic here, and we're looking at the role of youth in the democratic and electoral process now and come 2023. You like to drop your comments with us? Please do that in the comment section. If you want to send us an SMS, it's plus 234, and then you see the number there too, and then you drop your SMS and we'll read them. This one is from Mr. Leroy Fraser, all the way from US. It says, "This is Dr. Leroy Fraser from the United States of America. I'm happy to hear this topic discussed. I believe in the power of the people." Thank you so much, Dr. Leroy. It's good to know that you're joining us all the way from United States of America. Okay, so I'll bring in my guests now, and we'll talk through to the whole topic. Let me start with Benedicta again. The End SARS movement, and I'm happy AGK is also here to talk about that. That was one thing that unified everyone, not just even young people. You found people from different tribes, religion, everyone was coming together for once. I think the only time we've ever seen anything of such was during the fuel scarcity era, when people came out to protest about fuel rise and all of that. Take us through a little, Benedicta, about the NSAS movement and what you think about what young people are doing now. Because I am worried about that unity, because 2 years back, or a year plus now, I was so happy that young people could come out and say no to whatever issues they raised. But elections is coming, and I know protest is not the only way one can achieve results. How will you marry the End SARS protest and the preparedness that young people are having towards elections as we roll on?
Okay. Thank you. The NSAS protest was something, it took a shock on the nation, not just the youths, the leaders, the whole country, and even beyond internationally. You know, never, I don't think it has been in history that youths of Africa or Nigeria has come out on a united front and spoken with one voice on an issue that has affected them for so long. You know, the leaders have always, they've come out boldly to even say, the youths of now, they don't have anything to do, they don't have a voice. You know, we're not creative enough, we're not we're not leaders. You know, even though we are told we're leaders of tomorrow, but we are not seen in action taking up such positions or doing things to portray that we are ready for such positions or at those decision making tables. You know, so when youths were able to come out in mass, you know, it was beyond just a region. It was all over the country. It wasn't just about a particular ethnic group. You could see that all across. It wasn't an Igbo thing, it wasn't a Yoruba thing, it wasn't a Hausa thing. You could see everybody coming out because everyone is affected. So that is where the awareness begins from. If we as youths, I'm a youth, if I see an issue or if there's a problem that I'm being confronted with, and I start speaking up, the NSAS protest or the NSAS issue, this starts from the protest. All along, youths were always on social media, always bringing to the front the issues that were confronted with this group of uniformed men who were in uniform, who were supposed to act professionally. You know, they were acting with impunity. It was worrisome, and at a point, the youth were able to stand up together and say, "Enough is enough." To me, I have never seen such, and I can't even begin to say how excited. Yes, I was excited. I was emboldened to know that finally, as a youth, I have a voice to speak and be heard. It was just it was no longer an issue of one person standing up or standing up to meet behind closed doors with a selected leaders and speaking on behalf of people. No, the youth came out together in one voice. That was the most important thing. You know, a united front, and that already dealt with the issue of ethnicity. Before, we always see youths were always divided when it comes to issues of ethnic or religious crisis. You see everything just goes on wrong. But that that NSAS protest was able to lay bare these issues, that look, Nigeria is not, the issues we have is not about ethnicity or religion. It's beyond that. We understand that if there's an issue and we come together, it's all about the unity. If we're able to come together as one, we can start addressing issues. The issue of issues that are confronting the youth today in Nigeria, it didn't start today. But why these issues have gone on and on and on is because we've not been able to come out with one voice and say enough is enough, to stand up to the leaders and tell them to their faces that look, we can actually say what we want, and you actually listen to us and give us what we want. You know, so when the first day, you can see that during the answers, the first day there was no action from the government, the second day there was no action, and even on the third day it was getting to a point that internationally people began to watch, people began to listen, and the government were forced to come out and address us, the youth. So that is the power of social media, that is the power of one voice, that is the power of unity. And this movement, it became a movement. It wasn't just a protest, it became a movement across the nation. Like my state, in Benue State, it wasn't so laudable, but people came out on the streets. People came out, they spoke, they went to the government house, in front of the government house. They were there for days, every day, until the leaders addressed them. So these are the things. It's very important that as youths, we start to learn ways to speak for our leaders to listen to us. It's not just about writing
Yeah.
or going on
On the
social media
streets.
doing
Yeah.
doing propaganda and all of that. We have to start learning basic things that we need to use to get the leaders to listen to us. So I would say bravo for the youth that were able to um come out beside being there were threats all around, but they still came out to stand for their right. It was about human rights. That was what it was. Yeah. So kudos to
Yeah.
everyone.
Wow. Thank you so much, Benedicta. Let me come to Lancelot. I hope I get that. I prefer to call you AGK so I don't bite my tongue this night. Um, so I will, let me come to AGK again. So I'd like to ask you, could you unmute AGK? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I
So I'd
can
like
hear
to
you.
ask you, you participated in the NSAS protest in Lagos or maybe Abia, but I'd like you to share your experience as well on that one. And how would you look at that momentum and that energy of 2021 NSAS protest to what you think young people are doing now? Can you match that unity of that protest and the preparedness for the elections coming up in 2023?
Actually, the NSAS protest happened 2020. It was in 2020 actually
Sorry,
that it happened.
2020. Yeah, yeah. Sorry.
So, and the truth is, what happened or what led to that protest was a national issue that was targeted at a certain age bracket of young people, especially those perceived to be doing well, or once you are being seen as somebody that dresses well, you are being termed a yahoo boy, and it led to young people being extorted on a daily basis. Not just being extorted, some of them are being killed, some of them are being dehumanized and all of that. And it becomes a daily occurrence in different locations at a time, and it becomes a national issue where we have to take responsibility as young people, because this is something that affects us. If it doesn't affect me personally or directly, it affects me indirectly, maybe through a friend or through a friend sister, a friend brother, or something, or somebody somehow that is related to me. It could be a colleague. So that made it, everybody just had to say we are all tired. So we have to take responsibility at this point. Because if we don't do anything, it will continue and it becomes a norm. Because the truth is, whatever thing that lingers becomes a norm, and people see it as, regular thing, becomes our lifestyle. So we looked at it and said, no, we can't continue like this. Then you can't rule out the power of social media, because it's social media that help to amplify all of this. Because I'm sharing my have been developed, and that person is sharing the similar story, even if not words. And at that point we just said, let's make these people understand that we are tired. And that momentum, if we bring that into 2023 election, I bet you will have a different story to tell, because that momentum was something that people beyond Africa commended.
Yeah, the whole world.
CNN,
Yeah.
BBC, who is who,
And the
started
hashtag
that
was on.
news. Yes,
Yeah.
and the hashtag was on. So if we use that same momentum for this 2023 election, the story would drastically, effectively change.
Okay.
That's the
Let me,
truth.
yeah, thank you so much, AGK. Let me come back to Benedicta. There's a message on the screen, Benedicta. So I'd like you to quickly read it and respond. It's from our viewer in the United States of America, talking about Dr. Leroy. So, Benedicta, over to you. You have to unmute. You have to unmute yourself. Yeah.
Sorry,
Okay.
sorry about
Uh,
that. Okay. It reads, continue to stand up with one voice. African Americans, we had to stand up with one voice against the white establishment in the 1960s and 1970s. We we change things in America. We stand with you in your fight for basic human rights.
Thank you so much. I think that's true. And like you even said when we started off, you said even the NSAS was all about human rights and the approach that the security agencies were also doing. And I like the fact where GK talked about how even when boys are dressed in a certain way, or when people generally are dressed in a certain way, they just label them, and that's really an infringement on their human rights. Because I mean, people should dress the way they want to and all of that. So before I come to AGK again, I'll still dwell on you, Benedicta. So let's even look at the 2023 elections coming up. I'm worried that all we see for now is the people we always felt there should be a change of baton or leadership from. We've always felt that leadership should go to the younger generation and all of that. But looking at all the political parties and all the people who have shown interest so far that they want to vie for elections, we see more of still the elderly ones and the same circle of people who've been in the corridors of power for a very long time. Now, I am worried because if we judge by the NSAS momentum that it gathered and brought a lot of young people together, and even the government at some point was scared that if we let these young people continue, it will get to something else. Because even in Lagos, the more there were presence of security agents, the more people were coming. You saw celebrities even cooking food and bringing to the venue of the protest. I was thinking that could continue even now, because one of the problems young people also have is they wait till 3 months to election or 6 months to election, and then you start seeing all manner of flyers. And you said it when we started that if you want to take up leadership position, you must have positioned yourself to be seen. Because just like your dad, if he wasn't doing what he was doing, I mean, nobody would have remembered him when such opportunity came up. What would be your word of advice to young people, especially as we move to 2023?
Okay. Well, I'll start by saying the NSAS protest has come. It has gone. Not really gone, but we are moving forward. And I believe for every movement or every protest or every issue that has been tackled, you should draw out lessons. You should draw out your mistakes. You should go back to the drawing table and look at what you failed to do, what could have gone better, or what you would have done better for it to work. So after the protest, what next? Now, building on that, I think we already established that youth can come together. There was already an inclusiveness. Now it's the next thing for me. I think the next thing was for the youth to go back, meet these leaders at the table, discuss on ways which youth can be positioned in leadership. We have to start demanding for these things. You can't sit down or stay on social media or go on the street and just protest. These people, these early people that we're talking about, the elites that we're talking about, these are people who are aged. You have to meet them at that point where they are making those decisions and demand for it. We started demanding for it from the streets. We started demanding for it on social media. But are we going to stop there? No. Stopping there alone will not do it. We've moved away from the traditional way of doing things. That we've already seen it from the NSAS protest. It wasn't just going to the streets. We used social media, which was the major way in which the NSAS protest was widespread. So from there, we're moving away from the traditional way of doing things. Let's meet these leaders. After the NSAS protest, there was a call for the youths who were on the streets. I know the NSAS protest refused to draw up leadership, to take up positions and take responsibility for the NSAS protest. But at that point, what I expected was for the youth to come together and bring out people who will go to that table at the decision making and sit with the leaders and look at way forward to do to the way forward for youth to be involved. Now, when you talk of decision making, you're not just looking at the political position. Every step, every sector of this country needs youth to be at each position. Economically, we need youth who are at the table to make economic decisions that will favor us, the youth. Politically, we need youth there. Socially, we need youth. So at every sector, we need youth in this position who will represent the interests of the youth. Because I always say that youth, the generation now, we understand what we are facing better. Those people there at leadership, their generation is gone. They can't sit there and make decisions. That's why you see these problems coming up, because they make policies, they make policies that only reflect what they think and what they expect to be the solutions. No, you can't sit and make decisions for you and I. It's not done. If you're making decision for me or for any other person, I have to be on that table to be able to tell you that these are my problems, these are the ways to tackle it. So going forward in 2023, I expect the youth to start sitting at councils. Go to these council sittings. I know for every locality or every state, they have council meetings and there's a call for it, for people to come out. So you don't sit in your house and listen on radio or watch on TV and make and bring out issues and say, okay, this was done wrongly, or this one, when you are not there. So when there's a call for council, go there. Even at the House of Assembly, House of, I know there are open doors sessions where you can actually walk in and listen. You can make your contribution. So if we can start from there, even at the rural areas, you have traditional councils. Start sitting and listening to them. Listen to these processes. Start learning. That's where the learning process starts from. Because when we demand leadership, we're not only demanding. If you demand for it and you're giving and you don't know what to do with it, then what are we driving at? So when you start meeting these people at this level of leadership, they start seeing your interests, they start knowing, listening to you, and knowing your capability. And when stuff come, they'll be able to call on you. So it's very important that going forward, this is the time for youth to start campaigning. Yes, you can say the youth are not financially buoyant to come out and bid for this leadership positions, because the truth is the amount for forms or registration as a person to contest for a position, to be honest, is way too high. It's way high for a for the middle class, a middle class earner to come out who has so much capacity to actually be at that leadership position, to actually draw funds and say, this is it, I want to contest. He said, so these are one of the things. It's not just being there at the council. We also have to, the youths also have to come together and bring out people that they have known over time. Like I came across something. I don't know where I read that, but I think in other climes you have like electoral process or electoral bodies. I don't in Nigeria, I know there's a youth electoral body right now that is coming up very strongly. I can't remember the name, but it has to do with electoral processes and all of that. Youth can start bidding into these things or buying into these processes to start learning the process. And then such bodies will be able to stand behind you and give you funds or raise funds for you to come out. Coming out for leadership position, it's not for you to go and use your money to come out and campaign. No, I don't think that's not the right way to do it. You're supposed to campaign. The people you're supposed to get support, you're supposed to get donors that will come out, that believe in your system, that believe in what you are bringing to offer to the people. They are the ones that will push you and put in those funds for you to rise up for your campaign and do whatever you want and realize that position. So we need to start learning these processes for us to actually get into that place where we want to be.
Thank you so much, Benedicta. Let me bring AGK, because you mentioned something very important about the finance, and no matter how we want to shy away from it, politics is a very finance consuming aspect. The campaign, even starting from the form, like you said, the forms are not moi moi, like they say in Nigerian language. And then the campaigning times, you have to go around everywhere. So, AGK, if you can unmute yourself, let's also talk with you about is it because of the finance that is dragging back a lot of young people? For me, I don't think so, because like Benedetta said, that young people should be in that space. How many of them even have their PVCs? How many are even in a political party? Because these things start from all of this. It takes a process, which the elderly are even willing to do. They are always there. They are visible. They are always meeting, consulting, going around and all of that. And then you find that young people will wait 6 months to election or 3 months to election. You now start seeing all manner of banner, vote AGK for presidency, vote Benedetta for presidency. And these are people you've never seen before. Even in their locality, people don't even know them. How would young people start planning and processing this whole issue?
The truth before now, we had the issue of age barrier. Then comes there's no way you rule out finance from politics, especially the kind of politics we play in Nigeria. Even if you have too much money, they will still find a way and serve the whole money, and you become moneyless, you become koboless. So the truth is this: yes, the momentum we gather through NSAS, it also is at a pointer to the fact that we can do something different without minding whether there is money or not. Because for me, what I saw was, we started crowdfunding through that protest, and I know how much we were able to raise that sustained feeding people, giving people water, making sure there is light, there is sound in that venue. So for me, I think that's an approach we also need to, look into as young people. Even if we don't want to contest, if we have young person that is willing to contest, we can also do crowdfunding. Because we had a conversation today and I told them, even when they talked about women being financially disenfranchised from participating in politics, the same thing I told them. Young people, women are being financially disenfranchised because the economy is hard. Anybody that is making, maybe you are making 100,000 or 200,000 a month, issues, things you need to sort out, family members, friends, and society, that money will not even be enough for your own personal use, not to talk of other people, not to talk of to save enough money to even get tickets for party primaries, not even for the main election himself. So for me, I think what we need to, just like we are proposing from electoral reform, so if they sign that thing into law, it will also, cut down on costs, which has also been deterrent for young people to contest in election. So there are a lot of things we need to do: proper planning, supporting each other, crowdfunding, showing up, and all of that. Just like Benedetta talked about, you can't make policies for me when I'm not there, because you can't even know what to talk about. You can't even know the kind of policies that will suit me as a young person. So these elderly people, they have made money, they have siphoned money, they have stock money in their pockets everywhere. So they will use that as an avenue. And the poverty rate is also very high. So when somebody gives you food, you don't mind selling your vote for that to that person, just because you need that money or you need that food at that point. So what they play here in Nigeria is politics of emotion, politics of feeding people. So once you are being fed, automatically you will sell your vote, even against your wish, you will do that. So I think we have a lot of work to do as young people. That that had to take us to the drawing board. So the
Yeah.
NSAS is over. Then what next?
True. True.
So how many
So
of us? Because the truth is, we keep shouting, get your PVC. We go to the market, we shout to the market women, we go to the villages. Whereas the elites themselves don't even believe that vote counts, which keeps me wondering. Vote don't count, and these people are sunken billions in buying people's votes, in getting people's emotions appeased, just so that they will vote for them. They even go as far as collecting people's PVCs and giving them money, even if they are not going to use that PVC to vote, just so that they will be sure you are not going to vote, because they are not sure you are going to vote for them.
yeah.
So we
So
have a lot of work to do.
let me before I wrap up now, we'll be rounding up, but let me also bring you quickly to talk about your experience today at the public advocacy workshop on electoral reform. How was it like for you? How was the experience like for you? I know Kanu Zone is next week, Saturday on the 26th of February 2022. So how was it like for you, the Lagos edition that you attended today?
Okay, just like I pointed out, it's because for me, it's something I've been clamoring for a while now. Try to get people to not just register for your PVC, pick it up and come out and vote. Vote your conscience. Don't vote because somebody have given you money. So it's also, touchlight the issues we've been having. Because if you look at the percentage of young people in politics, the percentage of the women in politics, you know that is very, very low. When I mean low, is very, very low. And what are we going to do to correct this anomaly? Just for instance, somebody made mention of Edo State, half of their House of Assemblies members are not on seats. Why? Because somebody feel those people are against him, so they are not going to be there. So what happens to those people that are supposed to represent? So they will miss that dividends of democracy. So nobody representing them, so nothing for them. There's no project, there's nothing. So for me, it's helped to make me understand that there's work to do. The little we've been doing, we need to amplify it, and we need to also start doing peer-to-peer conversation about it. you know get this elite to understand that they need to vote, their vote counts, they need to come out and vote. So we should stop selling that votes don't count, this, that. They already have somebody the truth is, once you don't vote and those their people come out and vote for them, that means you've already voted for them. Because when you don't vote, you've given somebody an opportunity to win. So that's just what it is. So
Okay.
it's opened our eyes to things that we need to do, things we could do
Yeah.
as a young people, to make sure that we get the kind of leaders we want come 2023. And also it
Okay.
also help us to also understand that we need to push for that electoral reform to be signed into law.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so let me quickly bring in Benedicta now as we wrap up. What will be your final? I know we might still need to come back here again to do this because the elections are just around the corner, and then we might think 2023 it's very far away, but we'll just close our eyes and open and see that we are here again, and then we'll start asking ourselves, so what has changed? What lessons did we even learn? If after that massive time that a whole lot of lives and properties were destroyed at the NSAS protest, and then we can't begin to learn differently. If after all of that, young people still can't go get their PVCs, I mean, it just shows that we are like doing one step forward and three steps backwards. So as we wrap up, Benedita, what will be your final words to young people as we wrap up? You need to unmute.
Okay. Thank you very much, Emmanuel. Um, well, where do I start from? There are a lot of things to talk about when it comes to youth involvement in politics, in democracy, in the electoral processes. But like you said, this is just one conversation, one step at a time. The youth have shown that they can actually come out with one voice and speak and be heard. The leaders, even though they didn't show so much that they can listen, but they also showed a little that if it is forced in their faces, they will actually listen. So, going forward, I would like to see the youth more involved at every point, no matter how little that decision making process is. I would like to see youth there. Secondly, I know there are youth parliaments at state levels. I would like to see youth get involved at every little process, at every processes that you think you can be heard. Please, please, and please speak up. You have representatives. That's another aspect that we in Nigeria we don't make use of. It's sad that we have representatives, but we cannot hold them accountable. What has happened to the accountability processes? We youths have to start demanding for our leaders to be accountable. You can't start calling on Buhari at that level to be accountable. You have to start from that little level of the local government council. That's your councillor, your chairman. How are you holding him accountable? Well, how do you speak with him? Can you pick up your phone and call him? Is he accessible? If it's not accessible, these are the little issues you can start demanding on. You can start that sensitization of your youth in your locality to start demanding for these representatives to listen to you by making their phone contacts public for you in that locality to access them. Leaders are supposed to be accessible. They are there to serve us. So it is high time we start demanding for this. And then lastly, I would like to say, even though the other speaker talked about crowdfunding. It's very important because we as youth we are beginning to change the narrative of a lot of things in that has to do with us. The NSAS protest for one. We are changing traditional ways of doing things. So if we can come out, the elites there, they believe that they have the money. They can come out, splash money, and then win the votes of people and go scot-free. But we as youths, even though we don't have that financial capacity to do that, but when we come together, we can actually do crowdfunding for a particular thing that we know has the capacity to lead us and deliver. If we are able to bring out this one person and stand behind and contribute financially to fund this person to stand up, it will surprise the whole nation and beyond across to see that youths in Nigeria and Africa are beginning to rise up and demand for what is theirs. It's not just speaking, you have to demand it, forcefully or otherwise. So I that would be my final words.
Okay. I'll come back again and ask you to send your felicitations like we do here on the show. But let me give AGK 30 seconds to also say his final words, what he thinks should be the way forward, and all of that. And then I'll come back to you, Benedicta, to give your felicitations, your greetings to either colleagues or organizations that have supported you in your work. AGK, your final words, what's the way forward?
Um, it's very simple. Beyond ranting on social media, we need to take action. At this point, we need to do whatever thing we need to do to make sure that young people are the helms of affairs in decision making tables. And it start by getting your PVC, coming out and vote and protecting your vote. Benedita mentioned, demanding accountability from your leaders, even from your, ward chairman, councillors, whoever it is. We need to start asking questions because most time these people feel we don't know. So when you start letting them know that we know, we start demanding what is rightfully belong to us. We start seeing changes. you start seeing them being on their toes just to make sure that they deliver. So young people, get your PVC, come out and vote. That's just it.
Thank you very much. Benedicta, I'll bring you now to take a minute or two and greet who would you like to greet. I know you start with your father, daddy's girl.
Oh my God, stop putting me forward. Of course, I have to start with my father. Well, I want to say a shout out to my dad, Honorable Mike Adio. Thank you, Daddy. I know he's watching. He always follows everything I do. Thank you so much, Daddy, for everything you stand for and in pushing me forward to always speak up. Thank you to my mom, my support system, always showing love, always calling me to check up on me at every minute in time. Thank you to my siblings. Well, I will always say family is everything to me. So whenever I speak, it's always about family, family. But then I have very few close friends too. So I'll say shout out to them, Dosu Kalba, and a few of my cousins that are my solid backbone. And everyone who is watching the show, thank you for always supporting Shagalinku TV. Thank you, Emmanuel, for always reaching out to give me a voice to speak. I really appreciate this platform. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Benedicta. Let me bring in Ejike to say his own felicitations and then we'll close the show. Ejike.
To everyone who has, in one way or the other, lent their voices in making sure that we have a better society, thank you. Don't relent. Keep at it. To Nigerian Youth SDG Network, I say thank you for everything. Then to other organizations that are too numerous to mention, because I've been able to interface with different organizations, making sure that things work. Ambassador Emmanuel Gabare, thank you and what you are doing with Shagalinku TV. It's quite recommending. It's quite applaudable. Thank you, everyone. Let's just make Nigeria what we want it to be. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for that. I want to thank everyone who joined us. The videos will still be here for everyone to watch. You can watch via the YouTube or the Facebook. Thanks to everyone who sent in messages. Sometimes people watch 6, 8 hours after because of the time difference and the country zone and all of that. But thank you all for finding time to join us today. Like I said, I'll still bring in my guest again sometime soon so we can still continue this discussion because a whole lot needs to be prepped up for young people to know that they have a stake in democracy, good governance, even the democratic process itself. They have a stake. Politicians shouldn't see young people as just being used for toggery, to scatter elections, for campaigns, and then they are good enough to do campaigns, but not good enough to take up elective and leadership positions. I think young people need to bring leaders and people together and say, we need quotas, So for every leader who is coming out to campaign, young people should sit them down and say, what is the quota and percentage you give young people in your cabinet, in your office, in your that, in your this? We need to begin to see more PAs, more people. I mean, young people should always be there in their spaces. They have the energy, they have the time, they have the capacity, whether in terms of education and all of that, and it should be utilized. Well, on Shagalinku, we'll still be bringing all of that. Thanks to everyone, and thanks to my guest, Benedicta and AGK, for finding time to join us here. I remain yours sincerely, Ambassador Emmanuel Gabari, urging you to have a swell day and have a good night rest. God bless you all, and bye-bye.